Hi everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way. And this week's tutorial is another request. So I had a follower request that I do a little structure from Project Series 8. So Project Series 8 has three little structures actually. So I'm going to take the next couple of weeks and do a couple of these. So the first one is this little Victorian house. I'm going to use this Victorian house from Project Series 8 set 1 and the hanging pot and the lamppost. So I'm going to use those three elements from this set. In addition, I will also need a couple of things from the flowers and foliage set. So the little filler flower, the daisy bunch, and then in the foliage set, the grasses, the large grass and the small grass. So we're going to use those three elements and then three elements from the set. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is ink the basic image, and this is the Victorian house, and I like this gray tone. So I don't, if the house were old and rustic, I would start with sepia, and if it were strictly white, I would start with the number 86, but because it's set back in the background, it's a little smaller structure. I like the gray tone, and the gray tone is really a combination of the 86 African violet and the sepia marker. So let me show you how to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is ink this structure in the number 86 African violet. So I'm going to ink this whole thing up here with this marker. And then I'm going to stamp it off. So I'm going to take another piece of, you don't necessarily need to use watercolor paper, you can use any, and stamp that off so that I get that ink off of there. You could even do it a couple of times. Now I'm going to go back over it again with the sepia marker. And this is going to give me the color that I'm looking for. Okay, so let's take this now and stamp it in the center. Just like so. Okay, there we have it. So let's do our first step, and that is to dip our brush in water and pinch it off, and then pull the color out of the lines. So we'll start with the area that's going to be the darkest, and see this color is a little bit of a gray. It's not really blue, it's not really sepia, it's kind of gray, and I really like that color, especially when we're doing the background like this. Okay, let's pull this color out of the lines. We're going to go around like this. Okay, there we go. I was getting a little bit of a shaking on the camera. Okay, so I'm going to follow all these lines just like this, especially under the roof line. This is going to be a shadow under here. This area on the side is going to be pretty dark because this is in the shadow, so I can actually drag this color all the way down. Follow this around, and this is a porch, so this in here also is going to be pretty dark, so I'm just going to drag this color all the way down. Leave those posts white and make sure we get enough color in here. Over here on the side and underneath the window. You can see how that's starting to look more three-dimensional now. Okay, there we go. Let's add our color now to the house. So on here, on the sample, you can see that I've got two tones in the house. So this little area here, we can brush this in. And that is number 29 Prussian blue. So I'm going to put a little bit of this color on my palette. Dip my brush. And I'm just going to brush this color on. You can make this as dark as you want, depending on how much water you add. Over here on the side is going to be darker than on the front, so keep that in mind. This is in the shadow, so I would come back in here again and just do another pass. Really, really make that dark. And under here, under this eave, we're going to make that darker as well. Okay, let's put some color now on the shutters. And the shutters in the sample is a purple, 107. This is actually called eggplant. I like it. It's kind of a dusty purple, very subtle color. So we're going to take some of this now. We're just going to brush these little shutters in. You can use any color on this that you want. Brights or muted tones, either one are really, really cute. Okay, so you can see that once it dries, when you make another pass over it, you're going to get more pigment on here, so it's going to be darker. So you can wait a minute and then do it again. Just keep putting a little more color in here, like that darker color. And let's do the inside of the windows. So the insides now is another color. This is number 86, African Violet. So we're going to add a little of this now to the palette. And let's take a little of this color. And we're going to really darken these windows on the side. And I would just color those in solid. They're pretty small. And if you have a tiny brush and you want to do something decorative on that side, you can. This is your painting. And by the time you've done this a couple of times, you're going to be really good at it. So give yourself a chance to get familiar with a stamp. Do it a few times, stamp it a few times, and add the color. And then do your final copy. Okay, so we can put something decorative in here. I never put these lines into the stamp because they're too harsh. So I always kind of make you draw them in. But I think it looks so much more natural to do that. Okay, let's put some color on the door here. Just try not to color everything in solid. I know that's just such a hard thing to do, but you'll be so much happier if you don't do that. Leave some white areas because it's going to show light and texture. I like this look of the little shades here. But get these windows really dark because we want that contrast of light and dark. See, I would go back over these windows here on the side again. Make sure that they're really dark. Same with these little window panes. You could take this blue now and really darken this eave. This is a really great shadow color. So it really adds a lot of dimension. Even under here. Okay. Looking pretty good. I use this 86 so much, especially for shadows. It's just a great color. It's a great color for water too, but I just use it a ton. Okay, there we go. Looks pretty good. We've got our house pretty much colored. So let's take a little color now from the side. This is always our second step. So let's drag a little of this color out. It's really subtle, but it really adds a lot to do that. Sort of a little halo effect here. Adding more dimension. You could put some detail in here too if you want. Don't stress over little things like this. Okay, so let's add the next element. So let's use the little lamppost. This one right here. We're going to stamp that, and I want to make sure that I get it in the right place. So we now have available a little positioner, and I love this little guy. It's really small, easy to travel with, which is the nice thing about the watercolor is that it's easy to travel with. You can put it in a little box and take it. So this positioner also is really small, pocket size. Comes with instructions, and it is now available on our website. So it's just a little mini T-bar with the little clear plexiglass shield. So really super easy to use, and I'm going to ink it right now so I can show you exactly how to use it. But I will be using this a lot just because sometimes you just want things to be exactly where you want them. Okay, so let's ink the lamppost. I'm going to ink this in the blue, the 86 blue. And you can ink as much of the post as you want. Okay, so we're going to put the T-square, the little shield, into the T-square, and we're just going to place this block right inside here and stamp it right on the shield. Okay, just like that. Now we can position it exactly where we want it. And I think right there is perfect. So now I'm going to put the T-square back in, remove the shield, and ink my stamp once more. So let's put the ink back on here, ink this back up, and now I'm going to place my stamp back in here, ink it like so, and now I have it exactly where I want it. Perfect. So I love this little guy. I love that it's small because with the watercolor, with these elements, they're all really little. So this thing is going to work great. Okay, so let's now do the next part. Dip our brush in water and pull some of this color out. Just drag the color out. Try not to color everything in solid. It's just really hard to do, but you'll be so much happier if you don't. Okay, there we go. So we're going to use our little shield again, our little positioner. And this time we're going to do the little hanging basket. So that's this little stamp right here. And I'm going to color it with about 3 different colors. So first I'm going to ink it. And let's just add something bright. This is yellow, number 43. Let's add that purple in that we've used, 107. And you don't have to be careful about this. Just get the color on here. And then let's use that number 29. This is the Prussian blue. Okay, and then I'm going to use the 72. This is the pine green that I'm using for all the foliage. So I'm going to ink that all up now. So I have this kind of kitty corner on my block, but that doesn't matter. We're still going to put it in the square, like so. And now I can position it exactly where I want it. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to put this back in here now. And I'm just going to re-ink my stamp again. So there's my 43. Here's my 29. $107. And the 72 pine green. And you're only going to stamp this one time, just once. Okay, so we're going to put this back in here. Stamp that on there really good. There we go. And now we're just going to add the water. So start with the lightest color. That's always a good idea, especially when it's yellow. And just dab. Don't color in all the areas. Make sure you leave some white spots. And then let's go to the purple here. It's okay if that goes over the post. Dip your brush again. And let's get our blue in here. Just dab. This is all going to come together. Now we can do the foliage. Same thing again. Just dab. There we go. This in here where they all sort of connect, you can blend those colors together. And that looks pretty good. Okay, let's add some foliage now to the house. So we're going to use our little daisy bunch. So the one from the flower set. So this little guy right here, we're going to use this one. And I'm using the 107. So we're going to stamp it in a circle. And just kind of work our way around here. We can get some more on the front of the house. And over here. Looks pretty good. Let's add our water. So remember to dab. No brush strokes. I know I say this 100 times, but it's so important. Just dab. Just bounce your brush and just dab. The stamp will do its thing. Because we've got the dark and the light in there, so that dark image will come forward and the light will just kind of fade back. Magic. Okay. We can drag this color out a little bit more up in here. Love to do that. Mixing all the colors together. And now we've got a lot of purple blobs. So we want to cement all that down now with the grass. The magic grass always just kind of ties everything together. So let's put our little grass on here. This is a small one. And I'm going to ink this with the pine green. And you're just going to come in under these little flower bunches. And leave a little space if you want to have a little path in here. Just leave a little space in between for your grass. And you can have a little walkway. And then drag that color up. It's okay to blend it into the purple. It's no problem. And you can drag this color out like this. Just pull that color out. And see, leave this little space in here, and it's going to look like a little walkway. All very subtle. Watercolor is so subtle, very abstract. So that's why it doesn't, don't worry if you get everything in there perfect. It's okay. You're looking at the image as a whole. So if one little thing isn't perfect, we don't worry about that at all. Okay, let's use the taller grass now. And we'll just anchor down that, the lamppost. So remember to walk your grass. We could come in on this side as well. So we're basically showing this lamppost in the foreground. See, same idea. Drag the grass up and out. And then pull this one up the same way. Don't be afraid to just drag that color all the way up. A little of this color down. And let's add something tiny in here. Here's the little tiny grasses. Oh, I should have told you. I'm using one more thing from the flower set, the little tiny dots, this one right here. So I'm going to ink that one, and I'm going to use the 107 again. Don't get too much color in here. Just use the same ones. You're going to be so much happier with how it looks if you don't try to put every color of the rainbow in. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And add a little water to that. And if you like those sharp lines, the little tiny dots, you don't necessarily have to add any water to it. You can just leave it. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. There we go. Let's drag a little of this color down now onto the house. The house is white, but it's still going to have shadows. So we don't want everything to look too stark white because it's just going to look flat if we do that. Let's make this even a little darker back in here. You can always come back to it when you're finished and add a little more color, which is a really nice thing. Make sure the side here is darker because that's in the shadow. So we can get a lot of color on there and underneath here. And that looks pretty good. Push in a little path here. So one thing left to do, and that is sign and date. And we are about finished with this one. I'm just taking my fine tip now. I always find little things to do at the end. Don't be afraid to do this because this really adds a lot. Having those dark lines in there really kind of sharpens your image. Okay, there we go. There's our first little cottage, and tune in next week, and I'm going to do another one from this project series, Project Series 8. I do love this series so much. So keep sending your requests. I love that. Send me your requests, send me your comments, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.